Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and welcome back to Black American Lineage. Thank you for your support, and thank you for going on this journey through our past and our present. And I tell y'all this every time. Every day, I'm learning something new about our culture and about our history and about our ingenuity. So today, I'm going to talk about Suburban Gardens in Washington, D.C. It was an amusement park, if you can believe it. It was an amusement park that was built in the 1920s by Black men because Black people couldn't go to the amusement parks that they had back then. So they built their own. And it operated for 20 years. And you can imagine what happened, the reason it stopped operating. But today we're going to talk about it. So let's get into it. First, I want to tell you about the builder of Suburban Gardens. His name is Howard Dilworth Woodson. He's the son of Granville S. Woodson and Catherine Woodson. He's the paternal grandson of a noted AME church preacher and a lecturer, and he is the great great grandson of President Thomas Jefferson and his enslaved woman, Sarah, whom we know as Sally Hemings. So that's his background. He was an architectural engineer and he earned a degree in civil engineering from what is now the University of Pittsburgh in 1899. He moved to Washington in 1907 and began working as a structural engineer in the supervising architects building for the Public Buildings Administration. As you can see, he is mixed race, really racially ambiguous, but he identified as a Black man. But in 1907, when he moved to Washington, D.C., he could probably move into spaces that an unambiguous Black man could not move into. So that was probably why he was able to get things done. He contributed to the design of Washington's Union Station, which is the main train terminal in Washington, D.C. to this day. H.D. Woodson High School in Washington, D.C. is named in his honor. He was a tireless advocate for the Deanwood 4 Northeast neighborhood, and that is a neighborhood in Washington, D.C. He was a founder and the first president of the Northeast Boundary Civic Association and the Far Northeast Business and Professional Association. He worked to get more schools, paved roads, and sewers built in the then rural quadrant of the city. He also helped transform Benning Road from a one-lane dirt road to a two-lane paved street that now leads to Woodson High School. So this man was an activist. He was a Black man, and he worked because all of these areas that they're talking about he improved were Black areas in Washington, D.C. in 1907. So he wasn't trying to pass. He was trying to get things done for Black people. Now let's talk about Suburban Gardens. Howard Woodson wasn't just an engineer. He was a strategist who understood that infrastructure is power. And in the 1920s, he used that power to build joy, dignity, and autonomy for Black Washingtonians. In 1921, Woodson and partners John H. Paintner and Sherman H. Dudley built Suburban Gardens, a 7-acre amusement park in Deanwood. It was the first and only amusement park ever built inside Washington, D.C., and the only one Black people could freely enter. White-only parks barred Black families. Suburban Gardens became a self-determined leisure space, a place where Black people could dress up, dance, swim, and ride roller coasters without humiliation or exclusion. On opening day, crowds were so large they knocked down the gate trying to get in. The park offered the Deep Dipper roller coaster, a Ferris wheel, swimming pool, caterpillar ride, roller skating, games, picnic grounds, and playground, and a massive dance pavilion featuring Duke Ellington and Cab Calloway. This wasn't just entertainment, It was Black modernity, Black ownership, and Black joy in the middle of Jim Crow. I love it. Now, the social context and why Suburban Gardens was revolutionary. Washington, D.C. in the 1920s was deeply segregated, just like the rest of America. Federal employment had been resegregated under Woodrow Wilson. Now, it's news to me that it had not been segregated all the time, so resegregated under Woodrow Wilson, who is known to be one of the most racist American presidents, doesn't surprise me. Pools, beaches, and amusement parks enforced racial separation. And that's right down their alley, enforcing segregation laws. No black people here, period. Black families had money, taste, and desire, but no access to leisure spaces. Suburban Gardens was a direct answer to that exclusion. It said, since you don't want us in yours, we'll build our own and we'll make it beautiful, so beautiful that even you will be surprised. I wish that we had the same ingenuity now, that we would just build our own and enjoy ourselves and have plenty of security for those black people who don't know how to behave. Suburban Gardens operated for nearly 2 decades before closing in 1940. The land was later used for military barracks, then a school, and today the site is partly occupied by the MPD 6th District Station. And I don't know what that is. It must be the mass transit or something. In 1972, D.C. honored Mr. Woodson by naming a new high school, Howard D. Woodson Senior High School, a victory he had fought for decades. Let me tell you something. We can do it ourselves. Our biggest problem is when we do it ourselves, the dominant society will come and find a reason to tear it down. They tore this park down for no particular reason other than that it was making money, black people had built it, and black people were going to that park as opposed to begging them to let us come into their spaces. I go to black restaurants, I go to a black church, I live in a mixed neighborhood, but I don't desire to be around people who don't want me around them because I don't see the value in it. Let me tell y'all something about a fair, the county fair. They used to come to my hometown when I was young. We used to look forward to going to the fair. Our parents sacrificed and gave us money to go to the fair so we could have a good time. And the fair came every year. This one year, the fair came to our town and we were just having a good time. We were just having a good time. And it happened on a Wednesday night. We were just at the fair having a good time. Then all of a sudden, there was chaos. People were talking. People were saying, why did he do it? Why did he do it? Well, you know that white folks have to show out for white folks. And you know that black people are going to be the recipient of any kind of violence or anything negative. Now, we already know that. So this is what happened. At one of the tents where they had some ducks. I guess it was some ducks. You know how they have the ducks coming down the pond, and you have to shoot 4 or 5 ducks, and you get a teddy bear or some kind of prize. So this black boy had gone and picked up the gun and hadn't paid. The white man who was manning the tent beat the boy over the head with the gun because he hadn't paid, and the boy was no more than 10 years old. Now, the white people thought that black people were going to take that line down because we didn't really have any racial problems in our town because the black people stayed in their place. But that time, black people got mad. So these young black men got together and said, we're just going to leave. We're going to let them have it and we're not going to come back to the fair. And everybody agreed. Everybody but me, because I was about 10 myself, and I was trying to get some cotton candy and some popcorn, and they said, let's go home. My older sibling said, let's go. We're leaving. And I had to leave with them. So we went home and they said, and we're not coming back. We're not coming back. If that's how they're going to treat our children, we're not coming back to the fair. Didn't go Thursday night. And then Friday night, when people would, it would be black people standing around outside the fair telling black people who had come from other towns in the county what had happened, and they would leave too. So Saturday came around, that was the last night of the fair, and the Ku Klux Klan people, they gonna make the black people come back to the fair. That's what they said. They gonna make the black people come back to the fair. Because guess what? The fair is a moneymaker. The town depends on the fair for part of its revenue. Black people spend money at the fair. We ride and we eat the whole time we're there, where the white folks are standing around talking. So they were going to try to make us come back to the fair to make money. The black people were at the cafe, and the cafe was right up the street from my house, and the fair was right down the street from my house. It's a small town. And the black people were at the cafe. And just before dark that Saturday night, here comes the Klan. A whole line of cars, blowing horns and flashing lights, trying to scare black people, trying to make them go back to the fair so they can make money. Well, black people had already got the word because white people will tell on white people. That's an unknown, but they will. So the black people were ready for them. Hunty, hunty, hunty. It went down at that cafe, and we were standing on our neighbor's front porch because the cafe was right up the street. The fair was down the street, and the cafe was up the street. So we saw all of it. And boy, those black folk were fighting. I mean, it was a fight up at that cafe. And black folk were coming home and getting their guns and saying, we are not running from these white folks anymore. And that was a fight up there. They were pulling hoods off heads and calling names and Mr. So and so, I didn't know you in the Ku Klux. And oh, it was a mess. They fought. And those white folks left that cafe running. They got in those cars and boy, they got away from that cafe. My husband's father was the local preacher. They went to his house and told him that he needed to talk to the black people and settle the black people down because they were afraid it was going to be a race riot. Those black people stood 10 toes down and fought them like men, and the women were fighting too, because women were at the cafe dancing and eating fish and all of that. They were fighting too, they say. But they told us about it the next day at church, and everywhere else you went, they were talking about it. But they fought the Ku Klux that night, and you know what? We haven't had any more Ku Klux problems in my hometown since then. This was the problem that the Ku Klux made. They can do a lot when they catch a black person alone. But when you're going to a cafe full of black folks talking about fighting, you got a fight on your hands. And those white people do not mess with black people in my hometown to this day. And it was all over the fair. And y'all know what? Things went right on back to normal, just like nothing had happened. Nobody went to jail. Nothing was ever said about that again. And the town went right on back to the way it was. So you can stand up to people and you can do it yourself. You can make your own fair. But anyway, y'all, I hope you enjoyed learning about Howard Dilworth Woodson as much as I did. Okay, y'all, thank you for listening and have a good day.